This is a rare book from 1865. It's called a gazetteer. It contains historical descriptions of the local area, including stats, maps, drawings, advertising. To find one of these in near mint shape would be nearly impossible today, but at auction could fetch $1,000 or more. I found this one in a secondhand store for $5. Why? Well, look at the wear to the cover. How about the binding? It's also seen better days. When you start a collection, are you cutting corners in order to fill it? Will you accept the fact that a lesser quality item will do? Maybe until you find a better one. Or maybe you know that you will never in a million years spend the incredible amount of money it takes to get one that is mint. Obviously, the answer is different for every collector. But if you're on a budget, you need to get creative. Have you ever taken 2 or 3 broken items and used their best parts to make one good one? Today's collectors pride themselves in their ability to find pieces affordably that might need repair and get them working again. Or they might even customize their own. You know, sometimes collecting and tinkering go hand in hand.
My name is Jimmy Sparks. I wanted to create a show that showcases collections and collectors. Expert mega collector Doug Smith and I have no trouble finding incredible collections in every category you can think of, and in any neighborhood in any city. No selling, no buying, no haggling. We're not interested and they're not either. We are all about the stuff. It's collecting. Seriously.
Hey, what are we doing?
Oh, I'm just reliving some childhood memories.
Wow, that's pretty cool. His body is clear. You can see every gear. So, hey, can we wind him up?
Well, he's not so fast anymore. I think he's got a little gearthritis. In fact, he squawks when he walks.
That toy has got to be old. When was it made?
He's even older than you, Jimmy. He dates back to 1960. You know, when I was in high school, gangs of the toughest jocks and dregs would meet across the street after 7th period. They'd smoke Crayolas and bet on Mr. Machine races.
Is this the only robot you have?
Just Mr. Machine. And my brother... There's no way we could get Greg out of retirement.
Too bad. If I could just bottle that memory. Right now, we're going to meet a collector who has a special connection with the atomic age and the science fiction world of the robot.
Throughout collecting seriously, you may see this logo.
A fool.
We think a good way to check out somebody's collection without feeling overwhelmed is to, in your own mind, categorize what it is you're actually seeing. Most collections may consist of bulk, the mass or size of it all. Fun items, the pieces that people are naturally drawn to. Unique items, the rare, limited, one-of-a-kinds, and usually the most valuable pieces. And the ace in the hole, which is anything the collector has pride owning. It can be the best, the first, the favorite, or even something they don't have yet. Not all collections have these traits, but following these 4 guidelines might help you not to get lost.
A fool.
My sensors indicate an intruder is present. Danger, danger, Will Robinson.
Hi, Bob.
Well, hi, Doug.
Thanks for inviting me out.
Sure, come on in.
Danger, danger.
He looks like he's a lot of help, but what good do you think he is at stopping an intruder?
He's got friends. Yeah.
This is impressive. Obviously, this is a robot collection. Old toys always make a great display, but I think these are in a realm all their own. All the colors and the designs on the tin lithograph, that's great. Tell me a little bit about the collection.
Yeah, that's what actually one of the things that got me interested in the robots was were all the differences in the shapes and the designs. They were making something for a kid that probably wasn't going to last a month after Christmas. You know, at the time they were just toys and that's all they were. They never probably never figured that 50, 60 years later, someone would be making a shrine.
You know, the thing that jumps out at me is that probably most of these, the vintage ones anyway, were made in Japan.
Yep.
And in those days, that was the kind of junk that my parents would never buy me because it never lasted.
Right. As far as the tin robots, the 40s and 50s robots, that's, yeah, Japan was it.
Because they were so breakable, I guess that's what makes them so collectible today.
I think so. I think that's part of it. I think a lot of it is, you know, trying to recapture your childhood too.
I was surprised at some of the prices that they get for the older vintage ones. I've seen them go for $500 and $600, thousands of dollars even.
Sure, sure. Some of the rare ones, the ones that, you know, there may be only 5 or 6 left in the world. I mean, there have been auction prices $20,000, $30,000.
Wow.
But nothing that's ever going to see these shelves. No.
So tell me, Bob, how'd you get started?
I was at a farm auction one day, and there wasn't a lot there, and then I saw a robot in a box of junk, and I thought he was really cool, and I decided to hang around the rest of the day and find him, or to see if I could buy him.
Oh yeah? Do you still have him?
I have him. He's right here. He's just called Electric Robot.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I can see why you stood around the whole day waiting for that to come up to auction.
Yeah.
It looks like it's out of the 50s.
Yeah, 1955.
And does it still work?
It does work. It goes forward and reverse. You got a little remote control.
That is really neat now.
Yeah. eBay is about the only place that you can find, you know, internet sites. There's not a whole lot you can find locally anymore because everybody's collecting.
Right. And do you get some bargains on eBay once in a while?
Not as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But
too many collectors.
I tend to gravitate towards the ones that aren't pristine, the ones that need work. They need paint or they need fixed.
And can you do that? Can
Yeah.
you? Oh,
Yeah. And that's actually probably what I enjoy as much as collecting is repairing and getting them to work again.
Yeah.
Stuff that people were going to throw away. And yeah, that's part of the fun of it.
Sure. I recognize this one here. Isn't that Robbie the Robot from, what was the movie that was in?
Forbidden Planet. Yeah.
56?
56, 57, right, yeah.
Are there any other robots up here that we might recognize from a movie or television?
Well, Robbie's definitely the one that gets recognized the most. I mean, from the 50s anyway. Later on was the Lost in Space robot.
Okay, and they weren't the same then?
No. This was Robbie. The Lost in Space robot, who actually was just called Robot in the TV show.
Okay.
Well, this is a reproduction, actually, but the first one was Lilliput that came out in 1938.
Wow.
So,
okay,
yeah,
and that's
predates.
a wind-up.
It's a wind-up. It's called a pin walker because he's got these little pins that make him, you know, waddle. And then the second robot ever out is Atomic Robot Man from 1949. And he was the first post-war robot out of Japan. So this guy's not very big and doesn't do very much, but he's pretty important just because of his really the first post-war robot that made it over to America that got collected. That was in catalogs for Christmas in 1949.
That looks like an original. The patina on it kind of gives it away, doesn't
it?
it?
Both of these are. There are two different versions of him. By around 1970, 71, the toys coming out of Japan had to be marked ST for safety toy. They had to start to meet guidelines, you know, because I guess they didn't want kids playing with sharp tin robots anymore. That was the part of the transition to plastic, I think. It was cheaper and it was, you know, a lot safer. I mean, they didn't rust if they got wet.
Have you ever injured anybody with your robots?
I've never, I don't think I've ever injured anybody on purpose or accidentally with any of my robots. So they're all safe.
Have you ever turned one on and just had it go berserk?
This guy here was, I got him off an internet auction. He was actually a prop robot. He was built by a prop builder from California. He worked on a couple movies. He worked on Richie Rich and he worked on Toys with Robin Williams. I'm sure that he was actually made to be a prop. I don't know that he ever saw any screen time in a movie, but he's pretty cool. He's a one-off. He's cast. He's made out of rosin, and He's pretty heavy. I think he's just cool because there isn't another one like him out there. He's unique.
Well, you've got them all over the place, don't you?
Yeah, they stretch around here.
Look at that thing. What's that?
This one's an odd little guy. He's called Mr. Monster. And he walks with he's kind of like a spider. He's an 8-legged plastic robot.
Why would they make something like that? That's kind of weird looking.
I don't know why they'd make something like that. He's definitely, I don't know if they were running out of ideas by this time or they really wanted to push the envelope, but he's definitely different for a robot. I mean, it's definitely a different means of locomotion.
You know, Bob, I've noticed that you've got some things that, well, let's just say you've diversified a little bit, things that aren't really of the robot mold.
Sure. I try and limit it because it's a slippery slope to go down. The space race was a big part of the whole robot thing too, and you know, you had your flying saucers and spaceships, and that's a whole nother realm of collecting that some of the guys get into. This shelf here is actually stuff that I customized. Most of these are ones that were either too bad to repair or were missing too many parts, so I just you know, made some of my own heads or bodies or paint jobs and kind of customized them to come up with my own ideas, I guess.
You know, you talked about missing parts. Do they reproduce some of the original parts now that there's a lot of collectors in the field?
They do. A lot of collectors don't like using those though. Most of the collecting guys are mint, and if it's missing something, they don't want to put a reproduction part on because they, you know, whereas I don't care.
Right. You're probably better off to wait for a second one to come along and then make one good one out of two bad ones.
Well, exactly. You can wait and find something that maybe you got the part you need, and a lot of times that works better because then you're actually putting an original part back on an original robot if you're worried about lessening the value.
Why do you think it is that you continue to collect?
I think a lot of it is trying to be a kid again sometimes, and I like rescuing the robots, the ones that are, you know, that need a lot of work, rather than see them going to the trash heap. I like bringing them home and fixing them up and giving them a life again, I guess. For a lot of collectors, not just a toy collector, I think the hunt is a big part of it. And once you find something that you really enjoy or you really like having around you, you get a big thrill out of going on the search to try and find that next plate or that next radio or that next robot.
When do you think robots will take over the world? Or do you think they already have?
If it's these guys, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Their batteries will go dead long before they do any real damage.
Where'd you get the spaceship at?
Well, actually, the saucer is 2 satellite dishes that I brought home and bolted together, so.
Does a double satellite dish help you get collecting seriously any clearer?
What's collecting seriously?